Welcome back to the We Valiant Few podcast. With our hosts today, we have me, Raptor,
Crossfire's here.
As well as Slapshot.
and today we're going to be talking about the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 19th Amendments. So we'll start with the 13th Amendment and go.
Wait. Roadmap first. We're going to cover that first. So,
Wait, why? What?
He wanted to.
what do you mean?
Would have covered the roadmap. What we're doing here for the finishing up the first season.
Yeah, so for our fellow listeners, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Raptor. Hate to interrupt you and the rest of the episode, but to give our listeners a little bit of insight of what our plan is for the rest of the season and year. We are going to be posting this episode as normal on Friday, the 11th of December. And the following week, we will be doing amendments 16, 18, 21, and 27. And that will wrap up season 1 and the amendments. And after we finish that episode, we're going to take a 2-week break to end the year, give everyone some time with their families. And then we're going to start back up for January 7th for season 2, and stay tuned for what season 2 will include.
Well, so the season 2 premiere will be on Friday, January
8th. Right. Sorry. We usually record the day before or a couple days before, depending upon schedules. But I had written down the 7th.
Yeah.
So sorry.
No. Yes.
Just blew away.
Yeah.
Blew our recording day. Oops,
whatever. Yes, season 2 premiere, January 8th. So we'll have to see you then. All right, now we're back on to what this episode's about.
13th Amendment.
There it is.
Go.
All right. All right.
So, the 13th Amendment reads, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2 says, Congress shall have power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation.
Ultra straightforward.
It's, pretty clear. Slavery is bad. I think we can all agree that slavery is bad.
Yeah, slavery, big bad. One thing I was pointing out pre-show was I thought it was interesting that it explicitly says too that you could still be a slave if you're convicted of a certain crime. That's a punishment restricted on there. So
I think that's how prisons get away with making prisoners make license plates and stuff.
That would literally be the only
But they're
way.
still paid. They're not slaves necessarily.
I'll give you 1 cent for everything you make.
Yeah, it's not minimum wage, but they still have the ability to make money while they're in jail. So therefore, they're not slaves.
I just think it's funny that Section 2 says Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation, which I'm going to steal this from our pre-show.
Oh boy.
Congress has the power to make the power.
You said it wrong. Congress used the power to make the power.
Sorry.
There you go. Well,
besides the point, I still don't know why Section 2 is there.
They could also use the power to destroy the power.
oh boy. Where it's so easy. I'm guessing so. Section 2. I was looking at the preceding amendments there, and I didn't see anything written about that. But if we look at the succeeding amendments, let's see here. That actually doesn't exist. It doesn't show up again until Amendment 23. Congress have the power to enforce this by appropriate legislation. That it also exists in 24, not in 25. Exists in 26, but not in 27. So it's kind of hit or miss. So I wonder if they thought perhaps that they were going to have some resistance against this, because the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments are all part of what's known as the Reconstruction period amendments, which directly followed the Civil War. So I'm wondering if they thought there may have been some resistance to these particular amendments, so they put in a clause that they could pass more legislation to ensure that they were enforced properly. That's probably why that's in there.
Yeah, it also probably made it clear that, because in the Constitution it basically lays out what the what each branch of government is allowed to basically govern over. So this is basically just saying Congress is allowed to legislate for this.
We do what we want. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty clear. I mean, that's pretty much it for the 13th Amendment. Everybody knows this is brought on.
Yeah, there's not really a lot to talk about that one.
Yeah, no. So
I mean,
yeah, everyone agrees that slavery is bad and we don't want slavery, and I think you can move on from there.
I think one last thing to point out with this is, like, a lot of people think like Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, but that only freed slaves in the 11 Confederate states. So they had to do this to make sure that it was everywhere. So that's what led to it. But other than that, I really don't think anything else. I think we can jump to the 14th if you guys are good.
That works for me.
Okay, 14th.
Yeah, that's good.
Here's the big one.
Oh god, we'll split this one up amongst us.
Yeah, I think we'll read a section, or reflect on the section, and then go from there.
Yeah, break it down.
I'll take section 1 here, 14th Amendment, which the 14th Amendment covers rights, guaranteed privileges, and immunities of citizenship, and the due process and equal protection. So section 1 states that all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. I don't know about you guys, but when I read that, my flag started going up in my mind about everything that's been going on recently.
Me too.
Oof.
I was like, oh boy.
Because I mean, it says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, which are...
Nor shall any state deprive.
Yeah, which is basically saying states don't have the ability to take away rights that you have as an American citizen.
Yes.
So I wonder, this is just something to think about, but I wonder how many Second Amendment cases are brought up under the 14th Amendment.
Why? Because people minding their own business and, like, for instance, wanting to purchase a firearm has to do with, like, property.
Yeah, I was gonna say property.
It has to do with property, and it also
life too.
It says, I mean, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of liberty or pursuit or property without due process of law.
It doesn't quite.
Yeah, I mean, it covers a little bit of everything. I mean, nor shall any state deprive any person of life. So, I mean,
there's a whole lot.
Obviously, firearms can be
there.
Right. Liberty, I mean, we have the freedom to purchase firearms. And then property, it's our property if we purchase one.
We at least have the illusion of freedom.
I mean, it's all written there. It says, you get some freedom, and then I guess it's up to interpretation for some people. But
would you like some freedom with that shake, sir?
I guess so.
That's just interesting just to think about that, because, like, there's things where, like, life, liberty, and property. I can think very clearly right now of cases that are happening around the United States, California to name one, where there is just absolute gross violations of this type of stuff. So I just don't understand why it's not clear cut to people.
And I mean, you can also apply this to like the states that are closing businesses down and stuff.
That's what I was. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
Mine was just one
'Cause-
particular example, but this is everywhere.
Right, and I'll also, so hang on here. So within that it says, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without the due process of law.
But these
So-
are executive orders. They're not
That's not law.
the due process of law. Laws
Okay.
are created by the
Legislative.
legislative branch, and unless the legislature is creating these lockdowns, most of them aren't. It's mostly the governors making executive orders, which are not law.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's
So on it, like
Cool.
this goes into the whole people should do what Americans do best and do the whole civil disobedience thing,
civil disobedience.
because it is your, like, business owners should be working to ensure their life, liberty, and property, and people who shop at those businesses or live in the community of those businesses should do the same to protect not only their rights but the people around them.
Well, even as you guys can see, like with some events that happened in our area, ones that you guys know what I'm talking about, that the citizens came out to defend their business's right to be there. You guys know what I'm talking about, and they went
Yeah.
out of their way to do that. So we still see that happening. It still provides a bit of hope, I guess.
It doesn't get news coverage though, so I mean, looking at it external, or just, I'm sure if you like did some digging and looked, you would see other places doing similar things.
I know for a fact other places do similar things. Even other places around here did it. So that's all. Like you said, it's not just their right to do civil disobedience. I'd argue it's their duty.
Yeah, I would argue that as well. It's your, I mean, we've said it a billion times at this point, but the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, meaning that in order to have this life of being able to do what you want, under, as long as you're not infringing on anyone else's life or liberty, it requires you to constantly be maintained.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, it needs a constant effort to do it. And it's to be clear too. It's not like, oh, go out and do this. It's like, no. It's like, if you want freedom, you have to work for it. You have to cherish it and again maintain it.
It's like people who use their liberty to, build their families within our country, and like they start their family business, and those family businesses are their livelihoods, what they pour their heart and soul into, and their money. And whenever states want to shut them down because they're not, quote, essential, they're being stripped of their liberty, property, even
Definitely property
at times.
And then a lot of people life too.
Yeah, exactly, because people that are entrepreneurs and own their own companies don't have that life anymore because they can't go to their own store and make money for their family. And how do they support themselves? It's tougher. A lot of this is like what's going on right now is a lot tougher on sole proprietors and people who own their own companies, especially family-owned businesses, because they are, like, they're paying themselves. They aren't an employee and can't just simply collect unemployment.
Yeah, I can specifically speak to this. I mean, because of all the different ventures I'm involved in. If I wouldn't have been involved in as many things as I'm involved in, and I just relied on one single business, I would have been completely boned. Because like they just come in and just tell you, like, I was shut down for 6 months. Like they're like, yep, you're not even allowed to go into your office anymore. What's that? What, like, I get, you know, if there's, oh well, you got to take some precautions to do this, but there's this right here, that's just a blatant, like, gross violation of my, you know, my property. And there was no due process. I got an email saying that, oh yeah, you can't your electronic card to get into the building, your, you know, your high security card is deactivated. That's what I got. There was my due process.
I mean, you can even tie that into just regular people that have like one jobs, like you're closing down gyms and stuff like that. That I would consider that life, or like stuff that you do in your life in general, and you are preventing them from doing those things.
Well, not only for the people who like own the gyms, but I think this is the point you're trying to make. All the people who like go, you know, have their normal schedule, like people that go to work and then after work they go to the gym for a bit. Tons of people do that. You know,
Yeah.
like you're totally screwing their lives up. And it's just, the whole thing is just a gross violation of liberty. It's just, it cannot be understated. And it's just disgusting. The whole thing is disgusting.
I agree.
Disgusting.
That, and a lot of people are just fine, or they just think that it's cool, or we're doing what needs to be done.
It's
well,
rad, man.
What needs to be done doesn't necessarily mean that that is what should be done, if it is legal to even do what needs to be done. Because unfortunately for them,
that's the thing.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, the Constitution exists, and it is not to be trifled with. In that sense, I mean, people do it all the time, but there are people in the world that hold the Constitution as it says what it says, and it says what it means.
Which is
We are some of those people, but then again, not everyone is going to think like us, of course. And given the time that our country's in right now, that's a prime example of it, because everyone's just kind of doing what they're told, and they're listening to it, and they're just, you know, listening to these mainstream media sources and being sheep.
Well, the thing is so the U.S. itself used to be like, there used to be some principles that we all kind of like understood, and like that was the basis, regardless of left or right wing or whatever political party
you're
a part of.
We would agree at the end, but we wouldn't necessarily agree on how to get there.
Well, and we would also agree that the Constitution is the document, like a good document, like the stuff that we want to base our government and our ruling off of. But now they don't agree that the Constitution, there's things like the 1619 Project that think that America was founded very much before 1776, and it was based on slavery and racism and all that jazz.
Big dumb.
But I mean, we no longer agree on the basis of our country, and that's, I think, where this issue lies. But I think,
among other things, that's a key thing, though.
Yeah, it is,
because a lot of people just, like, if they disagree with where country started, then there'll be a lot of people starting, or not a lot, but people starting to question the legitimacy of a country, and then to them, what is the country? If they don't view it as legitimate, then don't view it as a country.
I also want to say that, I mean, this is a little anecdotal, but if you are listening to this podcast and you are going through these amendments with us, and like opening your mind and learning with us, that's like extremely admirable, and something that I think everyone should do. Is it on their own or through, like, it doesn't have to be through us. Just take a second or take a minute to, whenever you have an idea or you see something on the news, like, look back at our Constitution and see what it says about something like that.
If you're one of those people that's following along with us, and you're looking at the stuff we're doing and caring a lot about it, and it is really admirable. It's so admirable that if you join our Discord and let us know, we'll give you an we'll give you an admirable rank. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. But hey, I mean, if we're gonna go on the Discord here real quick, we would love to hear people's input into our discussions, and we're doing these things now remotely at the moment, and we definitely could add other people if they would be interested.
Yeah, this is pretty much infinitely scalable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I just actually realized that since we're recording through Discord, we can have guests, like anyone, jump in.
Yeah, we could just pull people down.
I think we could talk about this and rattle off this type of stuff all day about this, because like everybody think the whole concept of anything with these draconian laws can apply here. There's thousands upon thousands of examples that we can go on here everybody. It's really obvious if you actually just listen to it. One other tiny bit I wanted to touch on here, just a note: the Section 1 established the rights of people that once they're born here, that it determines them, like born or naturalized in the United States. It determines that they're that they get they're citizens of the United States. It says all persons born or naturalized in the United States subject to the jurisdiction thereof and are citizens of the United States. So this declares that like somebody's born here, they're a citizen.
I think there is some nuance in that statement, but I'm not entirely sure of, so I'm not going to comment more on that. I'd have to do a bit more research on it, but I heard somewhere at some point that there is a bit of nuance.
Well, I'm not 100% sure on that. Like you said, we'd have to look at it. I could see how you could easily get nuance with it, though. But I think that pretty much wraps up Section 1, so we're not sitting here ranting about how lockdown bad.
Yeah, we got off topic a little bit.
No.
We're good.
Actually,
no, it's on
that
topic.
was very on topic, yeah. But
Okay, yeah, I know, but like the Discord, that plugin was pretty
still
damn
on
good.
no, that's definitely on topic. That's
All right.
always on topic.
Whatever. All right.
It's our topic. We make it what we want.
You know, this is our podcast, and there are no rules to a
I'll do what I
podcast. So
want.
we'll do what we
my
want.
liberty.
This is America. This is America.
This is my podcast. There are many like it, but this one is mine. All right.
That
Are
should
there
be-
many like ours?
That should be the name of our podcast, actually.
What?
Just that long string of words.
Oh yeah, we should make that the description now. With that, I think we should bounce to Section 2.
Raptor, you want to take Section 2?
Section 2. Representatives shall be appointed among the several states according to their respective numbers, counting the whole number of persons in each state, excluding Indians not taxed, but when the rights to vote at any election for the choice of electors for President and Vice President of the United States, representatives in Congress, the executive and judicial officers of a state, or the members of the legislature thereof, is denied to any of the male inhabitants of such state, being 21 years of age and citizens of the United States, or in any way abridged, except in participation in rebellion or other crime, the basis of representation therein shall be reduced in the proportion which the number of such male citizens shall bear to the whole number of male citizens 21 years of age in such state.
Oof.
I don't know what I just read.
Yeah. So basically, dumbing that thing down is it just basically takes the population of males over 21. Because I believe the voting age back then was 21. And I think essentially what it's saying is that it takes anybody over 20, any male over 21, basically counts them up and divides through, because it says what word to say, the proportioning. Apportioned. There it is. Yes, that'll be apportioned. So that is dividing the electors through how many people are there. How we do it now, where each state gets a certain amount of electors, and then from there is determined on population. This is where that started at. So it just determines the number of electors, the number of representatives in Congress, how executive and judicial officers of the state are set up, and then each state has its own legislature, so the districts thereof inside of the state are proportioned as a result of this if it's not defined within the state. I'm assuming back then that was because there were territories, and this defined it for the territories.
And it also says, except for participation in rebellion or other crime.
So that means if somebody was involved in that CSA, because that was still really, really relative here, because the 14th Amendment was ratified on July 9th, 1868. So we're talking 3 years at the end of the Civil War. Anything in there that says rebellion of or other crime type thing like that is just excluding anybody that's in CSA. So that basically was a cheeky way to not have, or for them not to have representation.
Which I don't necessarily think is right.
No, I don't think that was right. I don't think it's right myself, but that's what it says there,
Right.
Remember, history is decided by the victor. But that's basically all that says. I don't really think there's much to talk about there, other than
this is just
old English to new English generator.
Yeah.
Yep.
Slapshot, you want to take 3?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, Section 3 states, no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress, or elector of president and vice president, or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States, or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress, or as an officer of the United States, or as the member of any state legislature, or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States, shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. But Congress may be, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability.
So that that falls again into the Confederate States thing.
Yeah, and from ye old English translated into New Old English, Section 3 is basically prohibiting any person who had gone to war against the Union or given aid and comfort to the nation's enemies at that time from running for federal or state office, unless Congress, by a 2/3 vote, specifically permitted it. And that's literally it. There is not much else to it. That's it. There's not much else to break that down.
Yeah, I was looking to see if there was an example for that was loud. If there was an example for if there's anybody who had the 2/3 vote.
Ooh, that would have been good to look up.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. I'm seeing if that's a thing. House Representative, Past Congress. Ex-Confederates says 70 proposals for an amendment were drafted. Yada yada yada. This is just for the actual construction of the amendment itself. Let me see. Background. Citizenship clause. Here are the dates that this was all ratified. That's cool. Citizenship, state doctrine, 1 man, 1 vote. A bunch of court cases. Has to do with violation clauses and stuff. So I don't see anything in here that really says anything here. I was curious if there's anybody. I was thinking like if there was any public officials of the Confederate States that they did a 2/3 vote to allow them to serve, but I can't think of any examples of that.
Yeah, no, off the top of my head, and I know a decent bit of history, I can't think of anything about this where this would have actually been utilized, really.
Yeah, because I know like Robert E. Lee.
Anything notable, at least.
Yeah, Robert E. Lee and Stonewall, they were not like shunned after the war, but they never went through any vote like this to hold office.
Right.
So, I don't know if that last bit of that was ever used.
I'm pretty sure Stonewall was killed during the war.
Was he?
I'm fairly certain.
Okay. I mostly Robert.
I think
E. Lee.
they both were, to be honest.
I don't think Robert E. Lee was he? I could look this up. I could be 100.
Google.
I could be 100% wrong about that. Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee died 1870. No, so he was alive. He was alive after the war.
What's Stonewall? I'm pretty sure Stonewall died during the war.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So never mind. It's about the Stonewall part. Robert E. Lee. And like I said, I knew he was still in the public eye after the war. I was pretty sure about that one. But they never voted to allow him to hold any office, though. Unsurprisingly.
And I mean, Robert E. Lee
Oh god.
was, if we get into Robert E. Lee, he was fighting for the Confederate States, not because he necessarily agreed with them, but because he was from Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like he went to West Point, I think, with some of the Union generals, I believe.
Now that I didn't know.
I mean,
Now I'm gonna jump back to what I said. I know a lot of basic history, but like the nuts and bolts of like some history
I know
topics.
nuts and bolts about
Yeah,
some stuff.
some stuff. Okay.
so
Well,
from West Point.
I did know Stonewall Jackson died during the war. How he died, I didn't remember, but Stonewall Jackson died on May 10th and was buried in Lexington, Virginia on May 15th. The Civil War Battle of Chancellorsville, Virginia began on May 1st, 1863. The next day, while God, I don't even know how to say that word. Reconnoitering.
Reconnoitering.
Thank you. Wow, I'm a degenerate. With members of his staff, Jackson was accidentally fired upon by his own troops.
Oh, that sucks.
Blue on blue.
I knew there was another, I can't remember if it was a Union or Confederate general that was killed after or during a battle and his horse fell on him or something. I feel like that might have been a Union general though.
Hey.
Hey,
I don't know. I mean, that's.
I'm looking this one up
completely
because I want to know that.
Hey, Slapshot.
No, it's relevant now. You just brought it up.
Hey, Slapshot. You know what happened to Stonewall? They used the troops to destroy the troops.
Oh my god.
That was awesome. No, like I said, I can't think of any example otherwise, and I just did a quick search to try to see if I could find an example for that. Didn't really come.
Oh my
didn't
God.
come up with much. So, are you cool with that example with the horse?
Yeah. So during the war, Forrest would have approximately 30 horses killed in battle. This was not unusual during the war. In the Battle of Shiloh alone, Nelson Williams, commanding a Union brigade near the Peach Orchard, was knocked out when his horse was cut in two by artillery fire and fell on him.
That's pretty metal.
That's a little brutal.
Oh my goodness.
So, when we think of artillery fire nowadays, we think of like large.
Not point of aim.
Give me an example.
Indirect fire.
Like indirect fire, whereas back in the day they used like line of sight direct fire artillery, being cannons, which were freaking crazy. Basically just giant blunderbuss that you could put whatever ammo you wanted into.
Are those a bunch of 10
Basically,
sticks? You bet they are.
It's a
So
tube
you're-
full of sadness.
Basically,
I mean,
basically,
that thing
a
could've
cannonball went through the middle of his horse, and
I mean,
the
it could've
horse
been-
fell over on him.
It could have been one of the cannonballs that had a chain between them,
Bolo.
and you fired two of the bolo cannonballs.
Oh my god!
And
Oh
the
my
chain.
god,
That's brutal.
That's so brutal. Wow.
Yeah, honestly, cannot even imagine being a Civil War soldier at all. Those wounds to have gotten, or have things to have seen during that war, would have been absolutely brutal.
Well,
It was also like a really crappy way of fighting, and I know they did it for a very long time, but like, let's all just line up and take turns shooting at each other with extremely inaccurate weapons.
See, I don't think they did that as much in the Civil War.
They
They
did.
absolutely
They,
did.
yeah,
They
the
did?
Civil War was basically the last American war that.
they used the volley. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think there were more instances of like guerrilla-esque or more modern fighting, but otherwise not really.
I'm still just trying to
Not
imagine, like
always,
you're
right.
sitting there on your horse, mind your own business. All of a sudden, this just bolo round comes flying out of nowhere, and just just wham! Wow. Well, so there's your example, and I think that's a good way to wrap up section 3.
I have absolutely no idea how the hell you knew that, Raptor. Just like
I just
I'm
want to
pretty sure General got knocked out from his horse falling on him. Who knows that? Who the hell knows that?
I pay attention to
Inner
history.
machinations of his mind.
Okay, but like I would have recalled that from like history class in
I
school.
think I
and
heard that
definitely-
from history class. I'm pretty sure I read that in a history class book.
It's pretty awesome.
There are so many more important things to have in a textbook besides, oh yeah, this general got knocked out when his horse cut him in half, or
Maybe it
got
was
cut in half.
Well,
something one of the teachers said. I think I was in Civil War Club in like 7th grade.
Oh, well, that might be it.
That doesn't surprise me. That sounds like something
whatever
you'd
it
be in.
was.
That sounds pretty
So,
awesome.
yeah.
All right, but you were gonna say something, Raptor.
Oh, I was just gonna add a little anecdote that the Signal Corps was made in the Civil War
But they did.
in the Army. The Signal Corps of the Army.
They were the ones who did the flags, right?
They did the flags, and they had like hot air balloons, with the flags and such.
How many hot air balloons were shot down with bolo rounds?
That is probably a topic for us to talk about later on.
Oh, what the... I'm gonna jot that one down.
Tally ho, lads.
Yeah, but like I said, that pretty much wraps up section 3. Moving on to section 4. This one here really was interesting to me. It reads, the validity of the public debt of the United States authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned, but neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States, or any claim for the loss or emancipation of any slave. But all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. Can't question debt. I wonder if that was, again, because of the date or the time this was passed, I wonder if that was literally just to shut up people. Because if, you're part of the losing side of the Civil War, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, yeah, your tax money is now going to fund the debt we incurred by fighting you.
On the other side, I wonder if this would have any hold on the idea of reparations.
I think it would. I would think it would basically directly have a hold on that.
Yeah.
Would just Ethan? What do you think? Just to basically
Just
shut
like
them up?
them, people saying like, "Oh, we should pay reparations to people that have never been enslaved," type thing, and that would be necessarily considered a debt from slavery.
So by extension, the people asking and the people suggesting to pay reparations for slavery is a direct violation of the 14th Amendment as written.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I see it, and I'm sure that if something was actually brought up to pay reparations, then people would bring up this amendment a lot.
Supreme Court would probably have to take on that one.
Yeah.
Because it literally says, it says any claim for loss or emancipation of any slave shall be held illegal and void. So that means the government or people as a result don't have to pay for it because it's considered void. Well,
Just void now and forever.
your debt shall be void. Well, interesting. We'll have to see if that one ever comes up, because now there's a chance that may actually be relevant. Yikes. But I don't really have anything else to add on Section 4. And then Section 5 just reads, the Congress shall have the power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Same thing as it did in the end of the 13th Amendment.
They used the power to make the power.
There we go. You got it.
Trust me, after you correct me the first time, I'm not gonna screw it up the second time.
Sorry. And then after that, I mean, we jump right into the 15th, and I'm gonna read the 15th Amendment and the 19th Amendment. They're both short, but the 19th Amendment I think is just an extension of the 15th Amendment by reasoning, and then we could just approach these as one subject. The 15th Amendment reads the right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States by any state on accounts of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. With Section 2 reading, the Congress shall have the power to enforce yada 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 with legislation. The 19th Amendment reads the rights of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on accounts of sex. Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. So, again, those two pretty much go right together. Where we're saying, the Congress can't or states can't restrict people's rights to vote based on physical conditions, like physical makeup.
The protected category type thing.
Yeah.
Race, color, or sex.
Yep.
But they can do it for age.
They can do it for age. They could do it for if you're a criminal of some sort. They'd
say that a lot.
Yeah. They could do it if you have some issue or something like that. I believe is it actually, I don't know if this is it a law where if you have some type of severe disability or you're like legally insane that you can't vote?
I don't know if there's a law that says that, but it doesn't necessarily say it's a protected category in any of the amendments.
I never even thought about it. Of course, like we always think like, oh yeah, that person's legally insane. Of course they're not going to vote. But I don't know if it actually says that anywhere because, like you said, it's not written in the protected category. Huh. That had just occurred to me. I don't know about that or not.
In some states, people who are deemed mentally incompetent are not allowed to vote.
So that would fall underneath that if they had some type of severe mental disability, or if they were legally insane, they would fall underneath that just by default or by definition. Interesting. So okay, so that the case. I guess that's the state. Well, okay, then would that no, okay, that would not go against the 15th Amendment, because the 15th Amendment says you can't be denied on race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Pause. According to the Americans with Disabilities Act, anyone with a mental disability who has an understanding of what it means to vote is allowed to vote in federal elections.
So someone who is mentally insane that
makes
knows
sense.
what voting is can vote. Okay. That can't possibly go bad.
I mean, I think it makes sense. If you can understand what voting is, then you should be able to vote.
Check this box, right?
Yeah.
Check the box. No, like I said, that was just a small side that occurred to me. I didn't know if that was a thing, but that you basically addressed it.
No, it was a good point. I mean, I didn't think about that either.
No, like I said, that's popped in as I was reading it. But I don't really think there's much to discuss about this. I mean, it just basically levels the play field for anybody saying, hey, doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter if you're up, down, left, right. Doesn't matter if you're male, female, Apache attack helicopter.
Well, that's not a sex. That's a gender.
Oh, crap. You're right.
So anyone that has a sex, and everyone does have a sex, gets to vote. Basically.
You get a vote, and you get a vote.
Which is good. I mean, all of these things, kind of go through the. Like, first we started just male landowners, and then we allowed slaves, and then we allowed everyone, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, like any person who has any slight factual, realistic part of their head that's based in reality would never argue this type of stuff. There's no argument here against this.
There's no argument there.
Like, this is just reasonable stuff. At least to me, like, I don't think you should I mean, like, it doesn't matter if there's a man and a woman. I definitely don't think that there's a woman, she shouldn't vote. Of course not. There's no reason for it. So it just, like I said earlier, it just levels it for anybody. It's like, doesn't matter what this is. Again, you can vote. I think it's just fair. I don't really have any much else to say about it. There's not really much else to say about it. I mean, it's extremely straightforward.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that pretty much wraps us up for today, though. So, I mean, you guys have anything else you wanted to add? I mean, I already did our awesome shameless plug of the Discord.
We could do it again.
Yeah, so
Hey,
if you're not a member already, Discord. We have links in every one of our podcast descriptions. We have the link to it on Anchor FM or anchor.fm/WeValiantFew. The Discord is linked there. It's on our YouTube channel homepage. It is on every one of our YouTube videos. So no matter where you're listening or where you're viewing, there is a link to our Discord. Join our Discord, and you can talk with us. You can suggest topics for new shows. You can engage in discussion, and overall help the community grow. So there's our Discord. I don't really that was a more constructive plug. I don't know if anybody else or if you guys have anything else to add other than that though.
thanks for watching. We appreciate.
We'll see you next time.
Yep.
Yeet.